Imagine the satisfaction of building your own custom bookshelf or transforming an old van into a luxury camper. Projects that promise creativity, savings, and a sense of accomplishment. You start full of enthusiasm, but soon realize something. The costs are adding up. Tools, materials, mistakes, and labor. Suddenly, the dream of a budget-friendly DIY project feels more like a financial burden. So, is DIY really the money-saving alternative it's cracked up to be? Or is it simply a cleverly disguised money pit? Let's break down the true cost of DIY and help you figure out whether doing it yourself is worth the effort, or if it's just creating more work. DIY projects often feel like the ultimate cost-saving option, but there's more to them than meets the eye. The first major draw of DIY is the perceived savings on labor costs. When you hire a contractor or buy a finished product, you're paying for the professional's time. But when you do it yourself, you're saving that expense, right? For example, a contractor might charge hundreds of dollars to build a custom bookshelf, but you think you can save money by doing it yourself. Another appealing factor is the control you have over your budget. When you take on a DIY project, you choose the materials and tools, giving the illusion that you're keeping costs down. You might opt for affordable pine wood instead of expensive hardwood, thinking you're saving big. And of course, there's the sense of accomplishment. Finishing a hand-built coffee table can feel priceless, even if it costs more than buying a pre-made one. Plus, DIY offers creative freedom. By designing and personalizing your projects, they feel more valuable than off-the-shelf alternatives. But while these benefits are real, there are hidden costs that can complicate the picture. Before diving into a DIY project, it's crucial to consider the hidden expenses that can quickly pile up. The first major expense is tools and equipment. Many DIY projects require specialized tools, which can be expensive, especially if you're only going to use them once. For instance, building furniture might require saws, drills, clamps, and sanders, tools that could easily cost hundreds of dollars up front. The learning curve and inevitable mistakes are another factor. Beginners often underestimate the time and materials lost due to trial and error. Mismeasuring wood for a table leg, for example, could mean buying replacement materials and starting over. Time investment is another big factor. DIY projects often take much longer than anticipated. A project that you think will take a weekend could end up stretching for weeks, costing you valuable personal or work time. Quality variability is another consideration. Without professional expertise, the final product may not be as durable or polished as you hoped. A DIY-built deck might look fine initially, but if it's not properly constructed, it could require costly repairs sooner than expected. Finally, there's the supply chain dependence. Even DIY projects rely on industrial systems for basic materials like wood, screws, or paint. These hidden costs can quickly tip the scale, making DIY more expensive than initially thought. Despite these pitfalls, there are certain scenarios where DIY can still save you money. Small repairs and maintenance are a prime example. Fixing a leaky faucet or patching drywall can save you hundreds of dollars compared to hiring a professional. For example, replacing a $2 washer in a faucet can eliminate a $100 plumber bill. Another cost-saving situation arises when you already own the necessary tools. If you have a drill and only need to build a few shelves, the additional costs are minimal. Projects that use free or inexpensive materials, like reclaimed wood or leftover paint, are another case where DIY can be much cheaper than buying new items. Refinishing an old chair found at a thrift store is often cheaper than buying new furniture. DIY can also be worth it if you're building a skill set. Learning to sew or practice carpentry can save you money on future projects. For example, if you learn to sew, you'll be able to repair clothes instead of replacing them. High-end customization is another situation where DIY shines. If you're creating something unique, like a custom entertainment center, DIY can save you money compared to hiring a carpenter for a similar design. When approached strategically, DIY can be a smart financial decision. However, in many cases, buying pre-made items or hiring professionals is more practical and even cheaper than doing it yourself. For complex projects, tasks requiring specialized expertise or precision often cost more when attempted by amateurs. For example, building a structurally sound deck might require permits, advanced tools, and professional skills, things that DIYers may not possess. Mass-produced alternatives are often cheaper than making things from scratch. A factory-produced dining table, for instance, can cost less than the raw wood and tools needed to make your own. Time-sensitive needs are another factor to consider. If time is a priority, buying a pre-made item saves you hours of labor and potential delays. Ordering a bookshelf online, for instance, guarantees it will arrive ready to use, whereas a DIY version might take weeks to complete. Durability and longevity are other concerns. Professionally made items tend to be more durable and reliable, saving you money on repairs or replacements down the road. A professionally installed roof, for example, is far less likely to leak than a DIY job that may go wrong. Knowing when to buy instead of DIY is crucial to making financially sound decisions. Before embarking on a DIY project, it's essential to evaluate the true cost by considering a few key factors. First, calculate all the costs. This includes materials, tools, time, and any mistakes made along the way. For example, building a table might cost $150 in wood, $50 in tools, and 10 hours of your time. Compare this to the price of a store-bought table. The next step is to consider the value of your time. Is your time better spent elsewhere, such as working, relaxing, or spending time with family? For example, if your hourly wage is $25 and the project takes 20 hours, you've effectively spent $500 on labor. Be honest about your skill level and the likelihood of mistakes or a subpar final product. If you've never used a saw before, attempting to build a DIY cabinet could lead to frustration and wasted materials. Another consideration is whether the final product will last or require future repairs. A wobbly DIY chair might need to be replaced sooner than a professionally built one. Taking these steps ensures that your DIY project is both financially and practically worthwhile. In conclusion, DIY can be a rewarding and cost-effective choice, but it's not always the cheapest or easiest option. Hidden costs like tools, time, and mistakes often tip the scales, making store-bought or professional alternatives more practical in some cases. The key is to strike a balance. Focus on projects where DIY adds value without overwhelming your budget or time. Whether it's fixing a faucet, building a bookshelf, or customizing furniture, understanding the true costs ensures that you make smarter decisions and avoid turning your DIY dream into a financial nightmare. So before you start your next project, think carefully about the costs and benefits and decide whether DIY is truly the best choice for you.